A silent protagonist spends a night in a Chuck E. Cheese hellscape. He is played by Nicolas Cage. A crazy crime man dressed as a priest later switches faces with his heroic nemesis. The crime man is also played by Nicolas Cage. Today on Something Old, Something New, we're looking at two Nick Cage action films. The newly released Willys Wonderland, as well as the classic FaceOff. Let's ride! Something new this month is the 2021 action comedy horror film Willys Wonderland, directed by Kevin Lewis with Nick Cage on as a producer. The premise here is a simple one. A man spends one night at an abandoned family entertainment center while he is pitted in a battle of survival against ferocious animatronics with a taste for blood. Immediately, the film invites comparisons with the video game series Five Nights at Freddy's, which is also about surviving the onslaught of killer animatronic kids mascots. However, Willys Wonderland is less about jump scares and more about campy, mindless fun. Nick Cage's character is not scared and defenseless as he takes the fight to the machines. The plot here is essentially a matter of rinse, lather, repeat of scenarios as he fights throughout the night to survive. Shot on a $5 million budget, Willys Wonderland isn't always the prettiest film to look at, and it hides the corners it had to cut with its CG by performing a lot of the action off-screen or in a rapid flurry of cuts that move so fast they gloss over the details of the action. As a result, the action scenes themselves often aren't that great in execution, but they are amped up on energy due to the soundtrack and Nick Cage's performance. And that's really the draw of the film, Nick Cage. There's a cast of teen stereotype characters who join him in the funland, but seemingly by artistic choice, those characters are about as cliché and one-dimensional as you can get. This isn't to say that Nick Cage's character has a lot of nuance or complications, but the film is coy with giving details about his past or his motivations, which serves to make him not only mysterious, but also interestingly odd throughout the film's whole runtime. For people who don't really especially like Nick Cage, or they don't really care for this premise, I could see this film being a bit of a slog, as it is repetitive and it is predictable. For an action comedy horror, its action isn't likely to leave you on the edge of your seat, its comedy isn't likely to make you laugh out loud, and its horror really isn't likely to actually scare you. Meanwhile, for Nicolas Cage fans, this one is for you. Few actors could pull off the physicality of this character any better, and the film is self-aware enough to know that it's casting Nick Cage. And to his credit, Nick Cage is self-aware enough to know that he's in a film that he's producing. I give Willys Wonderland a 3 out of 5. For something old this month, I revisited John Woo's 1997 action film FaceOff. I saw this film for the first time years ago, and this time around, it was just as bonkers and cool as I had remembered. So, John Travolta plays Sean Archer, an FBI agent who is determined at all costs to take down the terrorist Castor Troy, played by Nicolas Cage. Castor Troy had killed Sean Archer's young son, which leaves John Travolta so desperate he would do nearly anything to stop Castor Troy and his brother, Pollux Troy. Sean Archer's commitment to justice is put to an ultimately strange test when he is tasked with switching his face with his nemesis in order to stop a potential bomb threat in the city. And that's the weird conceit of this film. Sean Archer and Castor Troy switch faces, which means that John Travolta and Nicolas Cage both get to play both characters at different points, both the family lawman and the outlandish crazy crime man. The result is a very fun, highly rewatchable, and highly quotable film that is way funnier than it was probably ever intending to be. The performances from Travolta and Cage are dramatic and eccentric, and Castor Troy is honestly one of the most bizarre characters Cage has ever played, and that's saying something. It's Nick Cage. The facial expressions that he gets to play with, especially during the opening scenes at the airport, are just pure Cage gold. The action itself is blown out of proportion and is absurd. The last, like, half hour of the film culminates in a final face-off, wink, that is a real spectacle to behold, with an off-the-wall series of power moves and chase sequences that I don't want to spoil, but are, again, great. I suppose the biggest downfall of Face Off is that if you aren't really in the mood for an over-the-top, silly film, this might let you down if you think about it too hard. There isn't much substance here. Its entire foundation is stupid, and there's no impressive themes or challenging ideas being tackled. I'd hardly call the drama compelling, and I'll admit that a lot of my enjoyment stems from laughing at the film's absurdity in moments that were probably intended to be serious. But Face Off is a classic Cage film for all the right reasons, and it is such a good movie to watch with friends. I give Face Off a 4 out of 5. Also, it might be getting a sequel. Link in the description. And there you have it. 2 Nick Cage films. One a classic, and one a potential cult classic in the making. Cage is a fantastic actor and a real national treasure. And we should celebrate him. A lot of Nicolas Cage films are smelly garbage, but when given the right material, Nicolas Cage puts his all into creating an entertaining performance, and he does it all for his fans. But what do you think of these 2 movies, and about Nicolas Cage in general? Let me know in the comments if you feel so inclined, and I will see you next month for something old, something new. Ciao!